Hi, I'm Richard Bell. I'm a lived experience educator with schizophrenia. So since 2007, I go around public speaking about mental illness to universities and workplace training, and I give some insight into what some people experience with mental illness to people who come across it in their workplace. It gives a different perspective than the textbook. So, yeah, what I wanted to talk about today was past the wellness and recovery journey. In 2003, I was hallucinating from the point I wake up to the point I go to sleep. And that went on for a year until 2004 April. So it was April to April, 12 months. And then, so I started seeing a doctor who referred me to the hospital in Mount Gambier, South Australia, who then put me on medication. Yeah. And they weren't fond of putting me on the disability support pension in Mount Gambier. They were all like, no, you're perfectly capable of working. And so I got pushed into the workforce, and I was working before I saw them in traineeships and other places, juggling work in traineeships. So, yeah, so I ended up eventually going out into the vineyards for winter pruning. So I was working in the vineyards for winter pruning, and yeah, so it was a 12-week contract, and it was like met needs. So for 30 hours a week, I was being occupied, and it kept me well. It kept me with financial needs met, social needs met. Something happened at the commercial employment agency where the organization asked me not to come back. There was some misunderstanding due to my mental illness. Yeah, and then so I put in second doctor's certificate, and that raised a red flag at Centrelink, and they went, oh no, this person needs a disability support pension. So I ended up on the disability support pension eventually, and then I had community recovery support team put into place. Because my needs weren't being met, I needed to socialize and all those things that I was doing with working. The team leader at the community recovery support service was like, of course you're going to get depressed. What are you going to do with your time instead of working for 30 hours a week? It's just a given that you're going to get sick. So I didn't realize they were trying to get me off the pension and back into work again. Yeah, I didn't realize that the community recovery support team in South Australia, Mount Gambier, was trying to help me. It was a very confusing time of my life. In 2008, there was some big bads going on. I was back in New South Wales by then. Ended up having a relapse. So I ended up in a stint in hospital for, I think it was like 12 weeks. And I came out worse than what I went in. So ended up, instead of hallucinating from the point I wake to the point I go to sleep, my hallucinations were coming out of my mouth in constant dialogue from the point I wake to the point I go to sleep. So I was saying, go fuck yourself, having conversations with each other. My voice would change from masculine to feminine as the voices would come out of my voice. Voices would come out of my mouth involuntarily. And that was me talking to myself with my schizophrenia that wasn't there before the relapse. So yeah, and then so instead of lying in bed for 10 hours a day with nothing to do, because back then I couldn't work, I was in no condition to return to the workforce, I started writing poetry. So when I started writing poetry, it gave me something to do. And if healthy achievements that can lead to a healthier self-image, Poetry was one of those things that pulled me out of bed instead of lying in bed for 10 hours a day, as you do with symptoms of lack of motivation symptoms. So yeah, and then that poetry led me to showering because I wouldn't shower for 3 days with like a motivation of taking care of myself symptoms. And then that eventually led me to progression of staying out of bed and then being it eventually led me to wellness. And yeah, so it was really art and creative practices the second time around that led me to the situation of where I am now, independent of services. I left services in 2018. Right now it's 2025. So I haven't had a health service since then. Mental health team. Yeah, and I have no NDIS. So yeah, it was really yeah. So right now I'm independent of services, which is what I always wanted. And don't get me wrong, some people are flourishing under the NDIS, some people need the support services, some people benefit from monthly appointments with psychologists, and some people strive for independence in their daily lives, situation that makes them feel more in control of what they can do with themselves. So yeah, it's really, I call it the individualization of the recovery journey, because I feel that each person's recovery journey is based upon what they want to achieve, their needs, and not just, we're not all artists, we're not all workers. Some people get so sick they can't work again, which and some people have a strive for independence and freedom in their daily lives to help them feel more in control. So I hope you find it informative, and hope you provide insight into what sometimes is a misunderstood mental illness, and thank you for listening.